Hi, this is Nico,
And this is Kat.
and this is a new edition of Gals Are Us.
Welcome.
Welcome. Hello. How have you been?
Not too bad.
Not too
Really,
bad?
really just enjoying this latest series and
Yes, because tonight we are going to talk about the series everybody's talking about, of course,
the Netflix series.
Netflix Dahmer series. The title itself is a bit complicated. I think they say Dahmer twice in the title, so that's my first thumbs down for the series. Yeah, because
first?
it's the first.
first?
There's
There
a few
are there
thumbs
a few?
down. Yeah, but there's
Okay.
also a few thumbs up.
We'll
So
get into that.
yeah, we will get into that. I've been asked a lot about my impressions on the series, what I think about the series. So to make things clear, we are just talking about the Ryan Murphy series tonight. We're not talking about the Dahmer tapes. This is something else.
That's a completely separate
Exactly.
production anyway. So
We have started watching it, but we haven't finished yet. So tonight we're talking about the Dahmer series, Monster.
The Jeffrey Dahmer story.
Exactly. And also about what we call the Dahmermania. So let's talk
Definitely
about
for
that.
it. Yes, there's been a lot of hype around this series. There was plenty of hype before it started. And we're going to dissect that hype, if you will, and go into what we thought of the production, the direction, the quality of it, versus what we know of the case.
So what's your first overall impression of the series?
I thought it was really well done.
Yeah?
I mean, I love Ryan Murphy. I'm a big American Horror Story fan. I love everything he's done previously. So I had high hopes purely because of the fact that his name was attached to it.
Yeah.
And Evan Peters is an amazing actor. So that alone, I was very excited. And I always like a little bit of true crime.
May I add also one thing? There's of course the episode in Hotel, American Horror Story Hotel, where I think it's called Devil's Night.
Yeah.
And it's the first time that Ryan Murphy is showing the Dahmer character on camera.
Yeah.
There's 4 serial killers who are dining together on Halloween night. Well, actually 5 if you take into consideration that the owner of the hotel in the series is based on H.H. Holmes. So that's 5 serial killers. There's Ramirez, Warnes, Gacy, and Dahmer.
Actually, there's another one. There's Zodiac too. But
oh yeah, that's the Zodiac.
he's not a
too,
very
yeah.
chatty guy.
So that was the first time that they showed, Ryan Murphy showed that character, and he probably, it was probably in his mind. After that, he's been doing a few shows. You probably have heard of them, about Simpson, O.J. Simpson, and several others. So yeah, that Dahmer thing was announced like last year, if I remember well, and we had high expectations like everybody else. And we were, of course, like everybody else in the true crime community, totally surprised by the success that it had in the mainstream audience. So this is gonna be another part of the video. We're going to talk about that because this is a very interesting phenomena seen from the true crime community perspective.
But even the reception that the show had just when it was like announced that he was going to do it, not just when it was released, but when it was actually announced that Ryan Murphy was going to do it. I mean, when you think back, you look at American Horror Story and there's plenty of examples that show throughout that series in almost every season that this guy's really into true crime and telling stories about it.
Yeah.
So, I mean, look at his depiction of Ramirez, and it took for a documentary about Richard Ramirez to come out after for people to realize that he actually wasn't a fictional character.
Exactly.
So, the announcement that he was going to do this show created enough hype on its own, and I've been really surprised at the mainstream reception.
Considering that there's 2 movies, well actually 3, that were made on Dahmer. There's one called The Secret Life of Jeffrey Dahmer, which I quite enjoyed.
Is that the Jeremy Renner?
No, it's the other one. The Jeremy Renner one is just called Dahmer. It was part of this series of movies in the 2000s, early 2000s that were released. There was a Bundy movie, there was a Speck movie, there was a Camper movie, and there was this Dahmer movie with Reiner. It was one of the better ones from that series of movies that came out in that period. And then, of course, there's My Friend Dahmer, which is based on the comic book, and which is the most recent one, which was okay. I mean,
it doesn't go into his crimes. It sort of gives you a bit of a background. I enjoyed it for that reason.
Exactly.
From that perspective.
Exactly. And there's one entire episode of the show, the Dahmer Show, that's actually based more or less on that comic book. If you look into it, because it takes several elements from the comic book and includes it in its own narrative. So there's definitely an influence from that comic book in the series. My opinion, like you, I kind of liked the technical qualities of the series, the acting, of course. Now, I don't take it as a docudrama, of course. No, it's not what it's meant to be. It's based on real facts. Really close to real facts. That's why people are so, I mean, they don't really know how to approach this kind of docudrama because it's really close to the facts, but at some point it takes a different path.
It definitely deviates.
There's characters that were totally created that did not exist in real life, and they were created to balance the character of Dahmer.
Yeah.
For example, the neighbor, I think she's called Glenda or something.
Glenda, yeah.
Yeah, she's based on several people that were living in the Oxford apartments. There's characters that truly existed, like the janitor of the Oxford apartments, and I know it well because maybe you're familiar with the documentary, but I was part of a documentary on Dahmer where he was interviewed, so I'm going to talk about it a little bit later. But there's characters, of course, Lionel and all the family, that were actually based on the real characters.
And they were very close in speaking with the actual victims. Like, they were really close in getting them to look like the real victims. Yeah. They obviously kept the names the same, but they made up entire backstories that we don't know whether it's true or false because it was never talked about in the media. For example, Tony Hughes, the mute and deaf guy, we don't know if that really happened. As far as we're aware, there was no real
Dahmer
romance.
knew him because he mentioned it during custody. He mentioned actually meeting him several times. There's this childhood friend of his, friend of this guy, this victim, who actually saw Dahmer and him several times dancing together. So they actually knew each other, but I don't think that they really went out together. Like, it's, you know, this knowing the character of Dahmer, it's highly suspicious that he had entertained this kind of interaction with a victim and killing him after and drilling a hole through his skull. I mean, it doesn't make any sense to me. So yeah, there's this dramatization, as long as you understand that it's part of entertainment, and this is what I want to, this is part of my analysis of the entire phenomena. This, the Dahmer docu-series, is not a documentary, and this is why people are so conflicted about it. It's a dramatization of a real life case. You have to stress it several times so that people truly understand the difference between fact and fiction. I highly recommend the series that Taylor from Cult Collectibles did, analyzing the series. He did 10 episodes. Excellent. Yeah, it's an excellent series if you want to see the comparison between truth, fact, and fiction, dramatization in the series, in the Dahmer series. As pure entertainment, I kind of enjoyed it. Good acting. The murder scenes are okay there. kind of lame, but at the same time,
Yeah, for Netflix.
yeah, it has to be, for a wide audience. So this is not about, I don't know, this is no Lucio Fulci or Peter Jackson in his first days, This is for TV.
It was grisly
Okay.
enough that some people who don't usually partake in watching true crime or reading about it felt sick to their stomach watching the first episode.
Yeah.
So I guess it did the job on some
Yeah,
people.
for some people, for some of the most influential members of society, yeah, I think it's terrifying. But yeah, for true crime addicts, of course, this is
It's just another day in the
yeah,
life.
just another day in the life.
Especially not to trivialize anything. Nobody come for me,
Yeah.
but for us, we're kind of used to seeing and reading about this.
See,
stuff.
for example, and I will come to it because it's part of the Dahmermania thing. But those kids on TikTok who's actually filming themselves reacting to the actual Polaroids, it really shows that they were not expecting that. Of course, Dahmer did terrible, terrible things to those.
But he was
those
so
victims.
good looking.
Yeah, he was so good looking, and yeah, this is okay.
And people dressing
Plus,
up as him.
Yeah. Plus, those Polaroids, I've seen them, Kat has seen them, but 99% of the people who are watching this show, who have seen this show, have never seen those Polaroids. They don't really know what it's about. So when they see the real things, yeah, I understand that it's
confronting.
It's confronting for them. Now I want to talk about something else. Or do you have anything else to tell about the series itself, the dramatization?
No, I think you've covered it pretty well. I agree with you in that, especially if you're familiar with the case, you have to watch it purely as an entertainment thing and just as a work of entertainment. Ryan Murphy has stayed faithful to some of the story, but he's obviously, as an artist, he has taken liberties. And I think if you are familiar with the case in any way, shape or form, it's best if you just watch it as its own entity and not as if it's documenting exactly what happened, because obviously it does deviate from the story. There are characters that are made up to kind of balance, as you said, the darkness and the grittiness of the main characters and the actions that he did. But yeah, my theory is that he's deviated from the story and tried to balance that to try and give more of a voice, I suppose, to the victims and their families and the community that felt so affected by the crimes, because
I just have
that's my theory.
From my perspective, I agree with you, but I just want to stress something out because I think it's really interesting in terms of screenwriting, how you actually write down a story and based on real life. I think that they needed a good person to counterbalance the evil that was represented by Dahmer. So that they created that character, the neighbor, so that the audience could more or less identify themselves with a person who was living next to him and hearing those noises and smelling those awful smells. But what's the reality of this is that if such a character had really existed in real life, there would have been no Dahmer case. Okay?
Yeah.
I don't think that she would have kept it secret. If she had ever had any doubts, she would have told someone, would have told someone, we would have warned the people.
Talk.
Yeah, people talk, especially.
It's not a big place.
Exactly.
And the police, yes, there was a lot of sloppiness and carelessness and incompetence. I don't think that would have had a chance to be as bad as it was if such a person as Glenda really existed.
Yeah.
But yeah, like I said, it's my theory that he's done this to try and highlight the police incompetence, the fact that there was a lot of homophobia, a lot of racism, and I couldn't care less because it's not a very great community, it's a poor community, lots of people of colour. I feel like it was just truly to try and offset that.
in real life,
That's my
there's a
opinion.
few neighbors who actually testified when the journalists came soon after the arrest, of course, when there's cameras all over in your apartment complex, and you were there. Some people just feel the need to say something, even if there's nothing to say. So they will say, "Oh yeah, I more or less knew that something weird was going on." Yeah, honestly, having been through that, I know it's bullshit. People talk when they see cameras because they want to be part of the story.
Especially if they know it's going to be something big and they see dollar signs.
They see dollar signs. Oh, I want to sell my story. Yeah,
what story?
I've seen these people take out the trash and it looked like it was human remains. So why didn't you not call the police
and
don't
I just
tell
continued eating my dinner and going about my night.
Yeah. This is totally stupid. And this character, this Brenda character, Glenda, sorry.
I think.
From my perspective, I think that character was really badly written. That's my opinion, okay? But on the realistic point of view, this kind of character would have talked to someone and don't tell me, oh yeah, she tried to call the cops, but the cops didn't take her seriously. Even if the cops don't take her seriously, there's people at her church who will take her seriously. There will be people in her community who will take her seriously, and we will start to talk, especially when seeing missing posters in the street. So yeah, no, I didn't. But at the same time, I understand the need for dramatization. They needed a good character to counterbalance the evil of Jeffrey Dahmer.
So I think we can agree. We appreciate why her character has been written into the series and why certain dramatizations have been written in. It's purely just to balance out what it is, because otherwise it would have been way too confronting, especially for people that don't normally watch true crime related stuff. I mean, like I said, the first episode had a lot of people that don't normally watch true crime stuff completely grossed out, and they couldn't continue watching the next episode. So imagine if there wasn't that silver lining of a character trying to do the right thing. It would have just been unwatchable for so many people. So the reason they got the ratings is because of that balance, and I really believe that's why it was written in that way.
I want to talk about something else. It's a question that I've been asked a few times. It's in one of the episodes. There is mention of Jeffrey Dahmer working at a blood bank. Okay. In real life, Dahmer did actually work for a very short time in a blood bank, and he said, I think it was during one of the psychiatrist evaluation, he admitted to having drunk blood from a vial, and he immediately spat it out because he didn't like the taste. It was cold, he didn't like the taste. So that's what he actually said. So in the series, we see Dahmer stealing blood bags, getting them home, covering themselves with blood. Does that sound familiar? So if you're familiar with my case, you know that this is totally something I did. Totally.
Wait, did you cover yourself in the blood?
I did, yeah. Okay. I talked about that in a few in a few interviews that I did, and I actually did it. And I actually even painted one of the skulls that I had in my place with the blood that I had stolen. I covered the skull with the blood. When I saw that, and Kat can tell you because she was there, when I first saw that, I was a bit taken.
Your reaction was, wait, what?
Yeah.
That was his exact reaction.
Yeah.
And I knew exactly why he was saying it, because I know that part of your book.
Yeah, and part of my story, and part of my life too. So imagine, okay, you've done these things, right, 25 years ago, and suddenly you see a character that's not you, but on screen doing the same things that you've done 25 years ago, and knowing that in real life this character did not do them. So where did they get the idea from? So at first I was like, okay, maybe just dramatization, maybe Ryan Murphy wanted something more visually striking than a guy actually trying to drink blood from a vial and spitting it out.
It was oddly specific.
It was very oddly specific. And then I remembered that I had done this TV show in 2005 for Sky TV. It's a British channel. And on the same TV show, I interviewed Robert Ressler, the FBI profiler, Pat Kennedy, one of the cops who actually arrested and interviewed Dahmer while he was in custody, and he was one of the first cops on scene, and he was one of the first cops to actually see the cut off head in the fridge. So there was the interview of this guy, and there was an interview of the janitor of the Oxford apartments, and plenty of other people in that show are actually in the docuseries, which makes me think that probably while they were doing research on the for the series, they, you know,
they've trawled through different videos.
They've watched that video, This Is Obvious, and they've watched my interview, and you know, one thing leading to other, they probably heard about me drinking from blood bags. So yeah, I was surprised, honestly.
You did get a few messages from different people around the world
who actually
that
noticed
episode.
the same thing.
We all noticed the parallels, so
yeah.
It wasn't just us. It wasn't just us trying to insert ourselves, like.
Yeah, exactly.
Like.
So I take it as some kind of compliment, maybe, I don't know. But that was a bit weird.
Royalties
honestly.
Would be a nicer compliment.
Yeah, you know, I get enough royalties from the people
I'm kidding.
Who are actually buying the Dahmer books that I published. I will come to that because it's kind of funny. But yeah, if you want to read the real story, it's in my biography.
From the source.
From the source, Gospel of Blood. Ryan Murphy and his crew have probably read it. If you see the scene, it's exactly the same. So yeah, why not? Yeah, but yeah, I had to say it. I don't mind. Okay.
Well, we both noticed it.
Yeah, but that's a strange coincidence, to put it that way.
Because the way that he seemed to feel like he got strength from doing it, we knew that wasn't truth.
Yeah,
that's not something he ever did. He
didn't like the experience at all.
He wasn't like He-Man or something after he drank it.
But
and
yeah,
we were just like, wait a minute.
Because this is one of the things that I talk about in that Dahmer interview I did for that documentary, the feeling of power and the feeling of euphoria. This is the word that I use for that documentary. I rewatched it recently. I used the word euphoria. Okay, and that's definitely what they wanted to show on screen. Maybe they thought it was a good thing, you know, visually striking, and so yeah. Now I'm. It's funny because you know there's this connection now. Yeah.
You're like, hey, it's me.
Yeah, it's me without being me, but that's funny. Yeah. So yeah. Now let's talk about something else, which is very intriguing for us who are, I don't know, on the outside of the outside of society, let's say, outside of, you know, general trends, and
we do our own thing.
Yeah, we do our own thing. We love true crime.
We don't follow the trends.
Exactly. And then suddenly we see those millions of people who are prone to what we describe as a Dahmermania. And that's, from our perspective, it's really fascinating. It's extremely fascinating. It's like the roles are reversed.
Yeah,
see what I mean?
People have just done a complete 180 almost overnight
exactly.
for the sake of this series.
So, for example, take how I learned about the Jeffrey Dahmer case. I was, it was 91, so I was 19 years old, okay? And I remember it quite well. It was July, and I was very much much into the things that I did after. I was already doing a few things in graveyards. I had skulls at my place at the basement. In the basement, I had human remains. I was heavily into those things, and I had the same, more or less, morbid fantasy life as Dahmer. And I see this guy was getting arrested. It's all over the news. I see the footage of them taking the acid
barrel.
The acid barrel out of the apartment. And the few people that I knew were mostly in the metal scene, like the day after or 2 or 3 days after when they saw me, they were like, hey, there's a friend of yours who's been arrested in the US. Because they knew more or less that I was doing weird things, okay? So yeah, I was very much into the case from day one, even if I was in another continent and another country. And I could more or less relate to several aspects of the case which intrigued me, and I could find some kind of connection with the character, with his personality. And of course, in 1991, it wasn't cool at all to be into the case. People who treat you like a freak. And I cannot even imagine wearing a Dahmer shirt like I'm wearing now in 1991.
God, no.
Yeah, people would cast stones at you, right? Basically, they would do that, or just don't understand the reference because the name wasn't that famous. People had heard about Cabin Cannibal in Milwaukee. That's all they knew. They didn't really know about the Dahmer name. But anyways, what amazes me is like 30 years after the fact, society has changed.
Oh yeah.
And Dahmer is cool. Dahmer is the new hero everybody was waiting for.
People are dressing up as him. They're doing Dahmer challenges on TikTok.
I'm gonna tell you another anecdote. There was something, you probably have not seen this in your local newspapers, but it was in the newspapers in France that this owner of a nightclub in the south of France, who is organizing a Dahmer night in his nightclub. So the guy probably had never heard of Dahmer before. He saw that it was trending on Netflix, so he decided to do a Dahmer night for Halloween, and he received something like 500 death threats.
And his 5-star rating on every website has gone down to 1 overnight.
Yeah, overnight. And I thought this was hilarious, because this shows you that true crime is not for everyone, okay? You gotta have a large back when you're into true crime and when you're into serial killer culture, okay? Like my friend John Borowski says, he invented the term, and I think it's a very interesting term to describe what's going on. All those kids who think that Dahmer is cool, okay, they grew up with those stories. They were kids when it happened, and they happened even before they were born, okay? There has been no major serial case since the 90s, if you look at it. Yeah. And Dahmer was one of the last major cases. After him, there was practically nothing for a number of reasons. I will not spend the entire video explaining why, but there's lots of reasons why there are no major cases like that anymore. So it's like, yeah, people see that as some kind of weird relic from the past, maybe, and this could be one of the reasons why kids nowadays are so fascinated by serial killers from the 80s and even the 70s. Look at Bundy. I mean, the case happened 50 years ago, and people are still like, wow, they are fascinated by that. My explanation, I think that today's generation is lame, okay? That's my explanation.
You went there.
Yeah.
You're really going in. Okay.
Yeah, I'm going in. I think that today there's no more creativity. Okay.
It's been done.
Everything has been done.
Yeah.
People just, the only thing that people look up to is things that happened in the past, because nowadays nothing's happening anymore. I'm sorry to tell you, but future generations will be lamer and lamer. Okay? And this is
Not that we're hoping for more serial killers to come out of the woodwork, of course. We don't want that.
But in terms of stories,
there's a lot of technology and stuff now that's preventing a lot of serial killer cases from happening nowadays. So people are going to be clinging on to those stories from the past because they're interested.
Because they're interesting. The stories themselves are interesting. I don't know, all the details and all the things that happen around the cases themselves, they're fascinating for those kids. And those killers, they, even if they were evil and they were monsters, they had a personality, right? They were unique. Nowadays, look at killers nowadays. What's his other name? Chris Watts. No, sorry, no. I cannot watch a documentary on Chris Watts. No, there's absolutely nothing there. Okay. Yeah, there's not. And what I mean is, okay, being into true crime is looking at the past. It's history. It's dark history. It's morbid history, but it's history.
You can't erase history. You can look at it though.
Yeah, exactly.
Nothing wrong with that.
From my perspective, I do not think there will be another era of serial murder like that there's been in the 70s, 80s, 90s. This is over. This is done. It's a part of history. And I think this is why people are so interested in those stories from the past. And what's amazing from my perspective is to see all this entire new generation who considers people or characters like Dahmer as some kind of anti-heroes, if you will. And of course there's people who will say, yeah, don't talk about the murder, talk about the victims, idolizing them is evil, blah 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 blah. But the irony now is, if you look at what's going on in social media and TikTok and whatever, those people, they're becoming a minority. It's the exact reverse of what was going on in the 30s. And they're seen as like modern day Karens, the Karen equivalent of in the true crime community. See?
Well, it's kind of just, I mean, it's a bit of a slap in the face to people who have been interested in true crime since forever. I mean, both of us have been interested in true crime since a young age.
Yeah.
And, you know, people are always like, oh my God, don't you know they killed people? Yeah. And we're like, well, yeah, but it's an interesting story. I remember doing school projects on some of these serial killers and on mass murderers, and doing speeches about things like the Oklahoma bombing, for example. And people are like, why do you want to read about that stuff? And I said, just because it's bad doesn't mean we should ignore that it happened. And these same people who judged me for being interested in true crime are now like, oh my God, have you seen the Dahmer series?
Yeah.
Evan Peters is so hot and he looks so much like Dahmer. Like, Dahmer was actually a bit of a snack. And I'm like, what? Really?
Yeah.
Like, 5 minutes ago, I was a terrible person because I actually enjoyed reading about these people and I had a book about this person or whatever, and now he's on trend, so it's okay. What's going to happen in a few more minutes' time?
What one of the symbols of this hypocrisy, because for me it's hypocrisy, okay?
Yes.
What used to be considered as evil and repulsive is now, trendy.
If it's trending on TikTok, it has to be good.
Exactly. But the symbol of this is that, everybody in the true crime community who's been on those social medias for the past 5 years, we've been cancelled. We cannot post memes, otherwise we get bans from Facebook or
We
Insta.
can't even say the name Dahmer on our
Yeah,
social
we
medias
can't
without
even
getting a
tag
ban.
Dahmer. We can't use the hashtag. We can't do anything. Okay.
No.
When I'm selling the stuff on serial killers, I don't even use the names anymore. I use the initials because I don't want their algorithms to target me. That's the reason why.
It's happened before. Someone
Yeah.
we know recently has never had a Facebook ban in his life, happened to just say the name Dahmer, and boom, 30-day ban.
But
Netflix can post it, and so can all of the TikTokers.
What has been going on in September and October of 2022, when we are shooting this, is that everybody's using the name Dahmer, even normies, even mainstream people. How do the executives in Facebook, Meta, whatever, how do they deal with that? Will they ban all the accounts from regular people? No, I think that they will carry on targeting people who are into horror, who are into stuff that's a bit weird. They will carry on targeting this special audience, and they will leave the normies alone, because the normies, they're entitled to post serial killer memes, but not us, not the true crime community, because I don't know, maybe we don't bring them enough money. I don't know. That's the reality of the thing.
And we also get accused of glorifying serial killers when we're just sharing information about them with other people that are also interested. Have you seen this item? Have you read this article? Have you seen this photo? I've never before seen this video or this interview about them, so I share it with a friend. And now if you do that on Facebook, boom, instant ban. Instagram, boom, instant ban.
Also, who's making the most money in this? You think it's me? Do you think it's all the guys who are in murderabilia sites?
No.
Do you think, even if it's authors like John Borowski, no, the ones who are getting the millions out of this are
the corporations,
Netflix, and the like, who are actually making big bucks out of this. The show was a huge success, so imagine the money involved. And they are entitled to glorify killers, okay, under the cover of entertainment. So who's morally right, who's morally wrong?
At the end of the day, they're making big bucks off the back of Jeffrey Dahmer.
Yeah, they are.
So, I mean, are we the bad guys? We're not glorifying anybody.
Yeah.
We can't even talk about it.
Exactly. For me, it's not surprising. It will be always the same story, okay?
We're still going to be treated like crap because we're interested in
when the
crime.
trend goes down again, maybe things will go back to normal.
In a few months' time, it'll go back to being, oh my god, don't you know they killed people? Why are you reading?
But in the meantime, what's good, and okay, I will be honest about it, is that Dahmer books sell, okay?
Yes.
And it's funny because last summer I was actually working on 4 different Dahmer books. There was one for a guy I know who did a book in French on Dahmer, so I reread his copy. Then there was this book I translated. It's the John Borowski book, really good book. In English it's called Dahmer's Confessions.
Highly recommend you read it.
Highly recommend. This is the French translation of Dahmer's Confession. So I did it, and I actually worked on this during the entire summer. So it was kind of funny to see most of the stuff that's in the book used for the Dahmer series.
It was actually interesting because I read a good chunk of John's book while you were working on the translation. So it was interesting sort of putting that up against
and you put faces on the characters, like the 2 cops, Kennedy and Murphy.
Yeah.
You actually
breathe some life into them.
Yeah, you breathe some life, and you see all the small details that they got from the confessions, because I think that most of the work they did was actually use those confessions, and it's really obvious when you read them. And also I have to mention the other 2 books that I worked on this summer, and it's the books that I published for Taylor from Cult Collectibles. So there's this first book, Dead Dahmer, which are letters that were sent to Jeffrey Dahmer. So there's an entire.
He did get a lot, but he didn't reply to a lot.
Yeah, there's episode 9, I think, of the series where they mention the fact that he was getting a lot of mail, and some of you can actually see some of this mail in the book. So that was really weird and really cool to actually see this plot used in the docudrama. And
these are scans of full color photos and scans of the actual letters that were sent to him, so many of them.
And last but not least, I also worked on the Dahmer Psych Reports, also published by my publishing company, HeroPleasures.com, and also done in collaboration with Taylor from cultcollectibles.org. And this book is based on the personal copy owned by Lionel Dahmer of the psychological and psychiatric reports that were done during Dahmer's evaluation before trial. So those are invaluable documents. They are extremely interesting. You really get into the core of Dahmer's mind. He tells everything about how he disposed of the body, what he did to them, and all those details that are too gory and too dark to be shown in the actual Dahmer series. And so I was working on those 4 Dahmer books. So for me it was the summer of Dahmer, more or less. And I was also working on this Dahmer action figure that was sculpted by my friend Guillaume, which we released recently. And suddenly I see this show coming. Of course I knew it was coming because,
there had been whispers.
We
didn't know exactly when it was coming out.
But I wasn't prepared by what happened around the show, this Dahmermania, and was taken a bit by surprise. So the book sold very well. I think they will keep on selling, which is good. It's good for us publishers, small publishers who publish true crime.
Because a lot of publishing houses don't want to touch true crime as well. So it's really important for independent publishers and small-time publishers who do publish true crime to actually get their books out there.
Exactly. And I'm really happy also for all those in the murder community who have actual Dahmer letters and Dahmer artifacts that they can actually sell now, because the prices were too high, and it's normal because of the scarcity.
Yeah, they weren't exactly. Yeah, because he didn't write back to a lot of people.
Exactly.
He was really selective.
So there was a few good positive things for us in the murderabilia and true crime publishing community as authors. But at the same time, we have to deal with this huge amount of people who are contacting us, get friends requests all the time from people who would have never contacted me before.
And by extension, I get a lot of friend requests as
exactly.
well. People tag me in something just because it's Jeffrey Dahmer, as if I haven't already seen it a billion times already.
Those people, they have nothing in common with us. That's the thing. And we would carry on having nothing in common with them.
And this is we're not having a go at the people that we're friends with who share these things with us. Like, there are people who are as good as total strangers.
Of course, we know
who tag us and friend request us, and we're just like,
it's just that there's
and I'm sure we're not the only ones either.
New wave of people who are trying to follow the trend
and just trying to clutch onto anything that has some kind of connection to it. And I get it, because when I first started becoming interested in true crime when I was a kid, I remember wanting to get my hands on this book and that book and read this article and go to this website and try and look at art by this person, which is how I discovered you. And so I get the want and the desire to actually want to expand on what you've got and the knowledge that you already have. but please don't do it by trying to ride the coattails of people that are interested in true crime. Just join some groups, find like-minded people. If friendships develop from there, fantastic, but please don't try to crawl on the coattails of people who are interested. We have lives. As you can see, we're pretty busy with books, and, and we don't really have time to be answering to memes that we've already seen 50 times.
And when I say this, of course, I want to just remember people that true crime community is a close community. Okay?
Yeah, everyone knows everyone.
Everyone knows everyone. We've been around for years. I've been into this for decades. Okay, there's new people who have appeared, but we all get along more or less.
Yeah.
We all know each other, and we know who's true and who's false. And we see all this new wave of people coming because of a show they saw on TV. There's just one thing I want to tell them, okay, if we're not the Kardashians, okay? Okay, I think we've covered it all. Thank you for watching this.
Yeah,
and we'll try to make more videos now that we have a new TV set, a proper set.
Yes, we actually have space.
We have actually space now, so...
Moved into a bigger place.
Click and subscribe to the channel and like and share. See you soon. Bye.
See you for the next one. Bye.